Hello there, this is Benny.
And this is Kyle.
And you're listening to The Doctor's Watcher.
The color-coded podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Color-coded? Color-coded how? We'll find out.
Yeah, every episode of this podcast has a corresponding color. It's hard to, tell because it's an audio-only medium, but...
Yeah, I know, Kyle, you've also prepared, spreadsheets for our episodes to track where they are in the production process, and that's color-coded.
That's true, that is color-coded.
Well, cool. All right, well, we're on Season 3, Episode 15, Coronas of the Sun.
Indeed.
Who wrote this one?
Well, before I get to that, I do want to mention that if any of our listeners have a BritBox subscription and you're watching along with me and you saw that this was going to be Season 3, Episode 15, you might be a little bit surprised to find out that this episode is Coronas of the Sun and not the Steel Sky, which BritBox calls Season 3, Episode 15.
What? Yeah. What a mystery. Tell us more.
I have no idea why, but for some reason, BritBox just has the wrong episode numbers in this season.
Huh.
And what they're calling episode 15 is actually rather later in this season than episode 15.
Yeah, because this serial has missing episodes, and whenever there's missing episodes, BritBox just doesn't have the whole serial.
Mm-hmm.
Which may be how they ended up with the wrong episode numbers.
Yeah, I assume it must have something to do with that.
The Steel Sky sounds right as well.
Yeah.
There was an old point-and-click adventure game called Beneath a Steel Sky that I played, I think, a little bit of once.
Nice.
Back in the day.
But yeah, if you're following along on BritBox, just pay attention to the episode names and not the numbers for basically the rest of the season.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, Kyle, for this episode, what do you want to do first? Do you want to tell us the writer, or do you want to tell us how you watched it?
Well, in my notes, I have the writer before how I watched it, so I'll do that first.
Perfect.
This episode, according to the titles on screen, was written by Dennis Spooner, quote, "From an Idea by Terry Nation."
Dennis! You didn't tell me that the other writer of this serial was going to be Dennis. Dennis!
So, of course, in addition to his production work, Dennis previously wrote The Reign of Terror, The Romans, and The Time Meddler.
Well, all right, Dennis. We'll see what he did to this idea by Terry Nation.
Indeed.
All right. Well, coming up next, then, in my list of questions, how did you watch it?
So we are back to a reconstruction for this one.
Yeah, I think we're probably done with recovered episodes for this serial, if my math is correct.
Yeah, this was our second, and I did say that 75% was missing. And yeah. We're back to the LC20 loose cannon production. There are a couple of bonus videos that you can find as part of the LC20 production. There's an introduction video to the whole serial, and there's an interview with Jean Marsh, who plays Sarah Kingdom.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have not watched either of these yet, but I probably will, and then tell you about them sometime before the end of the serial.
Very cool.
Yeah, unless they're boring, and then I probably won't tell you about them, but...
Fair enough. All right, Kyle, I have one more question for you then.
What's that?
What happens in this episode?
Well, to answer that question, I have a question for you.
Oh, good.
Which is, What cliff did they dangle off at the end of the last episode?
Aha, a valid question. So our heroes are on a planet whose name starts with an M that I'm blanking on right now. Myra. And they're surrounded by Vizians, which are like these invisible 8-foot tall, possibly bear-like creatures. We're just going by the footprints that we've seen. And Daleks. We have 2 Daleks, and the Doctor, who is facing off against both the Vizians and the Daleks, has declared the Daleks have won.
Indeed. And immediately following from that declaration, the Daleks demand the Terranium core, and the Doctor's like, are you gonna, like, not shoot us after I hand it over to you?
Worth a shot.
And the Dalek's like,
there is no guarantee.
I dig it.
the Doctor thinks that they currently won't shoot him because he's holding the Terranium, and they don't want to, like, fuck the Terranium up.
Don't want to film negativize that Terranium.
He starts trying to negotiate with them because of this, and the Dalek is basically just like, fuck that.
There will be no more discussion.
Dang. Is this the Dalek with the gauge on the arm or the other one?
Dalek Carl.
Dalek Carl.
No, it's a different one.
Okay.
It's, your standard plunger Dalek. It turns to the other Daleks in the area and says,
prepare to exterminate them.
Hell yeah. I mean, no, but also, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. The Daleks get interrupted by a weird noise, which is like kind of a growling and yelling type noise. And it turns out to be the sound of a bunch of invisible Vizians attacking the Daleks.
Excellent.
There's a pretty long fight sequence in, this reconstructed episode.
Yeah, and how painful is that to look at these not even telesnaps, I guess, episode production photographs of just pictures of Daleks, and then maybe every now and then one of them's fallen over, I guess, I assume.
So we get some, I think they're probably not even that much of production snaps or production photos. I think they're probably mostly composited images, like created by loose cannon. So we get like some composited shots of CGI Daleks and jungle backgrounds. There are film negativizer flashes. They are interspersed with like live action shots of like plants with their branches moving.
I appreciate the effort.
And of course, like the audio for this whole sequence is basically like just this growling and yelling noise and like the loud blast noise of the film negativizer.
Very cool. Don't even get Dalek voices being like, oh no, or there's one over there, or anything like that.
And nothing like that.
All right.
The Daleks end up winning the fight. But, of course, by the time they do, the Doctor and his companions are long gone. They, successfully snuck away during the fight.
Oh, good.
We briefly cut to the Dalek control room, where a Dalek reports to the Black Dalek that the fugitives are still evading capture on the planet Myra. It suggests to the Black Dalek that maybe they should send some reinforcements to help the Daleks there, but the Black Dalek is like, nah, they should totally be able to just, like, handle it. Tell them to get the fucking Terranium.
Failure will not be tolerated.
Yeah, We'll just assume that they got this under control and yell at them a bit.
Yeah, that'll shape it up for him.
I mean, it's not like the whole plan hangs in the balance here. I mean, you gotta like cover the costs for fuel if they're gonna fly over there, and
right.
Probably have to pay them overtime, which means we have to figure out from HR if we even pay the Daleks.
We cut back to Myra, where the doctor is like, okay, cool. Everybody knows the plan. And he leaves Steven and Sarah.
That's a quick way of establishing a plan without actually having to tell us the plan.
Yeah, just cut into like the end of the conversation.
Yes.
He leaves. Sarah Kingdom doesn't think the plan's going to work. But Steven's like, yeah, of course it will. It's the doctor.
Yeah, Steven's a relatively new companion compared to how long some of the other previous companions had traveled with him, but he's been around for a little while.
Yeah,
can't remember how good the doctor's success rate has been with him, but I appreciate his faith in the doctor.
Yeah, he's got like seniority over Sarah as far as doctor companionship goes. So
that's true.
He's got to like teach her the ropes, and one of the ropes is the doctor's always got it.
Not sure if that's actually one of the ropes, but I guess we'll find out.
So the two of them enter sneak mode, and they start approaching the edge of the Dalek ship, kind of like sneakily getting up to it. While we cut back to the doctor, who starts walking toward like the main front door of the Dalek ship in full view of the single Dalek that was left behind to guard it.
Okay.
And this Dalek orders him to stop. He's like, yeah, cool. I came here to surrender. So should I just like give you the terranium now or inside of your ship or...
All right. Interesting. I mean, I will remind our listeners and the doctor that a false surrender is considered a war crime by the international standards of, I don't know what that is, the UN maybe?
Yeah, probably.
I know this is a fan of the Clone Wars TV series where that comes up more than once, so nobody remembered to tell Dave Filoni or George Lucas apparently.
Interesting. The Dalek asks the doctor where his friends are, and he says that they'll come when he calls them. And the Dalek's like, cool, we'll call them and give me the fucking terranium.
Yeah, come on.
And then Steven, still in sneak mode, sneaks up behind the Dalek, and he hits the silent takedown button on his controller.
For some reason, I'm just picturing Steven like putting the Dalek in a sleeper hold with like his arm around the Daleks don't really have throats, but the
right.
bottom of the spinny part of the head that moves around.
Yeah. So yeah, what actually happens when you do silent takedown on a Dalek, since you can't really like choke him out like that, is...
Darn.
that you just kind of like scoop some mud off the ground and you slap it onto their eye stalk, and then they can't see.
The old Barbara special.
Right. So the Dalek starts yelling about being blind. It starts kind of like randomly firing its film negativizer. And Steven, Sarah, and the doctor all rush into the Dalek spaceship.
Yeah, I hope the Dalek doesn't randomly shoot the spaceship when they're trying to steal it.
Well, what it actually seems to be about to randomly shoot is the Dalek search party that's like returning to the area. And they're like...
That works out.
Yeah, telling it to stop firing and shit. The party can't get the door of the Dalek ship to close, though, because the vacuum lock reads 2.24 and it won't activate until 500.
This feels very much like a puzzle in a BioWare RPG.
They've they've figured out how to like make this vacuum lock number rise, but it's rising too slowly because, as I mentioned, the Dalek patrol is returning, and it's going to be at the ship soon. So, it's like one of those limited time puzzles. You've only got like 90 seconds to solve it before the enemies arrive.
Hate those.
Mm-hmm. The Doctor tells Kingdom to feed in the extra energy. So apparently she does.
Cool.
And
whatever that means.
The GM's like, cool. Yeah, that works. Extra energy. Cool. And as the Daleks outside, actually the GM's probably like, probably made him roll for it. And I'm sure, they rolled well and everything.
Okay. I mean, if you roll well, then of course it's going to work.
The Daleks outside are getting into attack formation, and they are preparing to board the ship and exterminate the PCs.
Excellent.
But the vacuum lock reaches 500 and the door closes just in time, and they are able to launch the ship.
Nice.
Coding 92, red, blue, discharge. Coding 100. All blue readings. Take off. Now. Okay.
These, there's something about these, like, it's not even techno-babble, but some kind of communications babble, spaceship flight type dialogue. Something that reminds me of, like, little kids pretending that they're flying a spaceship and just saying gibberish at each other while they, flip switches or imaginary switches.
Just
or whatever.
like numbers and colors. That's all you need.
Yes.
We cut back to the Dalek control center, where the Black Dalek is arguing with Mavic Chen about whose fault this whole situation is.
Excellent. An important pastime when you're a villain.
Chen's like, look, dude, it was too dangerous to have the fugitives on Earth, so I sent them to Myra, which is closer to Kemble, where you should be able to, like, recover the terranium pretty easily.
Still taking credit for that, even though he had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm.
The Black Dalek is like, but recovering the terranium was your job.
A valid point.
Yeah. Chen's just like, it was stolen from your conference center to begin with, so that kind of makes all of this your fault.
A bold claim. We'll see how that works out for him.
Just then, another Dalek shows up and reports to the Black Dalek that the fugitives have stolen the Dalek pursuit ship and that the Dalek crew of that ship is now stranded on Myra and under attack from the invisible creatures there.
Excellent. Also, I'll bet you wish you'd sent reinforcements now, don't you?
The Black Dalek does decide to send a rescue ship.
That's nice of him. Honestly, I didn't expect it.
Yeah, I kind of was a little bit surprised by that.
So he'd be like, all right, cool. I guess that the Vizians are just going to kill those fools.
Maybe it wants to kill them itself.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Be rescue
deserve
them
a quick death.
Bring them back to Kemble and then, like, execute them.
Yes.
Exterminate them.
Of course.
It also decides that it's going to take personal control of the whole recover the terranium core mission.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder why he didn't do that from the beginning, but okay.
The Black Dalek insists, or tries to insist, to Mavic Chen that everything is still totally cool, totally under control, and it's totally not an emergency that a Dalek ship has been stolen.
I don't know why he feels the need to convince Mavic Chen. I guess I should use it pronouns for the Daleks, right? Like I don't know how we've been doing it.
Yeah, I think I've probably used both.
But yeah, I don't know why it feels the need to convince Mavic Chen, because like you don't need to impress him. You're planning on killing him anyway, and you've just been kind of using him. So I guess Daleks just don't like feeling dumb, though, which is understandable.
If the Black Dalek is taking personal control of the recovering the Terranium mission, then like what's Mavic Chen even for anyway?
Yeah. I mean, if I were Mavic Chen, I'd take the opportunity to GTFO, but we'll see.
They may believe that they have successfully escaped from us, but we, the Daleks, are still in command.
Very cool. You're listening to The Doctor's Watcher. If you enjoy our show, please leave us a 5-star review and tell a friend. We appreciate you, listener. You can reach us by tweeting at Dr. Watcher or emailing thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com. And now, back to the episode.
On the Dalek ship, we actually now get to learn the Doctor's plan, which is to make an exact copy of the Terranium core that's close enough to the real thing to fool the Daleks, but won't actually function to like power their super weapon.
All right, so they're going to make that out of what, paper mache?
Yeah, totally. Some nice model paint.
Yeah.
Stephen wonders whether it can be done, and now Sarah assures him that the Doctor's totally got it.
I do enjoy all this optimism and faith in the Doctor.
Everyone kind of feels the ship move at this point, though. So they check the controls and they realize that they've changed course and are now headed back to Kemble. So it seems that the ship is actually still under Dalek control.
Meanwhile, Nielsen or whatever his name was floats by, donks against the windscreen and says, "See, I told you you'd feel it if the ship changed direction." And floats off.
Stephen notices this like metal box of electronics or whatever that's kind of like attached under one of the control panels.
Cool.
And he's like, oh, clearly this is the thing. And he just like rips the box off the panel. Okay,
well, man of action, not necessarily man of electronics or software debugging.
Apparently he was right, because they do get control of the ship back. This does seem to fix things.
Excellent.
Sarah thinks that this method of like just ripping the box off was pretty drastic, but he's like,
Sarah, the technology of my age may be hundreds of years behind yours and the Doctor's, but there are still some things I can handle.
Like just grabbing this box and tearing it off the instrument panel.
The Daleks at the control center don't like this, of course. They've realized that they've lost control of the ship. So they activate the magnetized beam to just like grab the ship and pull it back to Kemble.
Cool.
It's going to take some time, of course, for the beam to reach the ship.
Of course. I mean, it's traveling at the speed of magnets.
Right. Back on the Dalek ship, everyone agrees that the Doctor's papier-mâché copy of the Terranium looks really good. He did a great job on it. But they still need to figure out, like, how to charge it up so it's, like, fully indistinguishable from the Terranium, which kind of glows, I guess.
Oh, that's cool.
Steven suggests using the gravity force from the ship's power center, but the doctor's like,
Too primitive, my boy. Too primitive and far too dangerous.
That means the doctor either doesn't know how to do it or doesn't understand the suggestion.
Sarah tells Steven that this was abandoned as a power source like centuries ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He says that his time still used it, and she's like,
Oh, yes, and the Romans used treadmills.
Did they? I guess I'll take her word for it.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought it was a pretty good drag.
Yeah.
The magnetization beam reaches the ship, and it starts pulling them back to Kemble, which of course is also going to take some time.
Cool.
Sarah and the doctor start working on trying to figure out how to break the beam, and Steven decides to give his gravity force theory a try.
Very cool.
The GM is like, dude, the complication range on that one's going to be like 5, maybe 6. Steven gets all of his dice together. He says,
Let's see about those treadmills.
and
I like this banter going back and forth. They're continuing it. I think, Kyle, I think the time has come. What are we thinking here?
Stevra, Sir-Reven,
What was Steven's last name? Taylor? So,
Kingler.
Kingler, yeah. Isn't there a Pokemon named Kingler? It's like a king crab type of thing.
I don't know my Pokemon, but sure.
I vaguely have it. I don't know. Yeah, but Kingler, that's not bad.
Yeah, I kind of like that, actually. So Steven rolls his dice, and it's a success with complications.
Yeah, we had a feeling when you were talking about the complication range.
So the success is that he does plug the Terranium copy into the ship's gravity force, and it did charge it, and it now does look just like the real Terranium. But the complication is that Steven is knocked unconscious.
By what?
By the gravity force, I guess.
Oh, I guess it's a dangerous power source after all.
Yeah. We cut over to the Dalek control center, where it seems that the magnetization beam has successfully dragged the ship back to Kemble.
Wow, that was quick.
They are in the atmosphere. It is slowing them down for a landing. Mavic Chen is trying to convince the Black Dalek to let him take the fugitives back to Earth for a trial, like after the Daleks get the Terranium back, of course. But the Black Dalek wants to just go right ahead and exterminate them. No need to delay.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of the trial would be from the Daleks' point of view.
Yeah.
And I guess Mavic Chen needs a scapegoat for all that's been going on, because the stuff that was going on Earth probably generated some paperwork and aroused some suspicion among the security forces and stuff. So
yeah, he mentions that there were people who knew that they got teleported to Myra, basically, and so they might wonder what happened, and they might find out about the Daleks, and Black Dalek's just I don't give a fuck, deal with it.
Nice.
So yeah, they discuss it, and in the end, Chen ends up letting the Daleks just keep the fugitives. Of course, this is all the pre-discussion. The ship is still landing. So Chen and the Black Dalek both head out to basically the landing pad where the ship is due to arrive.
Speaking of ship, are we thinking Chak Dalek Mavek.
Mavalek. Mavak Dalen.
Blavik Chen. Blavik Da Chen.
Blavik Chalek.
These are all terrible. I hope this is, we don't have any more. Well, we probably will have more opportunities for this. We just won't use the ship name.
Yeah.
The ship is terrible, and so is the ship name.
On the spaceship, the doctor says that they'll be landing in about 5 minutes. Steven seems to have regained his consciousness.
Seems to, huh?
He's not really like moving or speaking at all, but he's kind of like, sitting up with his eyes open.
Interesting.
Apparently they can't touch him. He's got a force field surrounding him.
Okay.
The doctor asks Sarah for the fake terranium. She hands it to him. He starts telling Steven that he has something very important for him to listen to, and like, does he understand, etc., etc. And apparently Steven does manage to blink his eyes in acknowledgement.
Oh boy, he's some kind of messed up.
We, of course, don't get to know what the important thing he says to Steven is, because we cut back outside to Mavik Chen and the Black Dalek, who are like chatting
Making
basically.
Out. No. Okay.
The ship lands. I think we get, in classic Doctor Who style, and especially given that this is a reconstruction, we get just the reaction shot of Chen and the Black Dalek as the ship lands.
I guess the folks at Loose Cannon didn't feel like getting creative with the CG and giving us a shot of the ship landing.
Uh-huh.
How would one? Sorry, I was still thinking about Mavik Chen and the Black Dalek making out, and like, how would somebody make out with a Dalek? I'm just picturing somebody like smooching its eye stalk, but you're just like kissing it on the eye.
I don't know.
That seems a little
That'd
weird.
That'd be kind of weird. Like maybe the gun stalk. That seems kind of weird.
That's getting kinky.
But I don't know if the plunger stalk
I'm sorry
is
I brought
better.
this up, and I think we should just move on with the episode.
So Mavik Chen and the Black Dalek are basically just like chatting while the ship lands, and we cut back into the ship. I guess we basically cut away like just so we wouldn't hear what the doctor says to Steven.
Uh-huh.
And Steven is now on his feet. He's holding the fake terranium, and he's walking like kind of slowly and dazedly toward the main door of the ship.
Okay, well, I'm curious as to why Steven has to be the one to do this, but all right.
Sarah doesn't think this is...
if it's powered by gravity power and he's already under its influence, maybe we're just cutting our losses here.
Sarah doesn't think this is going to work, but the doctor reminds her that it's basically their only chance, and he says that he'll do all the talking.
Well, give him the opportunity, and that'll always be the plan.
Uh-huh. As soon as the three of them leave the Dalek ship, the Black Dalek outside starts demanding the terranium, of course.
Uh-huh.
But the doctor says that he'll only give it back to them if they do it like standing in front of the TARDIS, basically.
Interesting.
The Black Dalek doesn't really want to agree to this, but Mavik Chen's like, dude, what's the big deal? You're going to get the terranium back. And he basically talks the Black Dalek into agreeing.
Thanks for the assist there, Mavik Chen.
Uh-huh. So they all start heading off toward the TARDIS. Chen recognizes Kingdom, and she calls him a traitor.
Nice. And she's right.
Yeah, totally. They get to the TARDIS, and the Doctor gives Sarah Kingdom the TARDIS key. He tells her to open the door, which, as far as I remembered from the last time we saw the TARDIS, like, it was left open. Like, we saw some Daleks kind of driving around it, and the door was open, and it was abandoned. So, like, the Daleks should have been, like, partying in the TARDIS, and, you know, there should have been, like, the native animal species of Kemble having moved in, and
There's just little nests inside.
yeah, it should be trashed. But apparently the door got closed at some point, and everything's fine.
Well, it's been several episodes, and this is before the days of reruns. So I think they felt like they could get away with it.
Yeah, that's fair. The Doctor tells the Black Dalek that Stephen will hand over the Terranium after the Doctor and Sarah are inside the TARDIS, and the Black Dalek's just like, fine, whatever. So the Doctor and Sarah head into the TARDIS, and Stephen, who still is like pretty out of it, hands over the fake Terranium. Chen like opens it up and looks at it. He thinks it all looks good. And Stephen is, you know, he like turned around and is heading into the TARDIS when the Black Dalek orders him to be exterminated.
Gasp.
And the Daleks fire the film negativizers, but the force field protects him.
Nice.
And he gets into the TARDIS, and the TARDIS leaves.
Nice.
The Daleks are like, what the fuck? Humans can't survive the film negativizer.
Well, valid reaction.
Chen's like, it doesn't fucking matter. We got the fucking Terranium back.
The universe will be ours.
Nice. Clap, 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 clap. Also, I like that the only time that we've managed to get force fields for our heroes so far, it was completely by accident.
Yeah, totally.
Worked out, though.
We cut to the TARDIS control room for the first time in several episodes.
We're back. It feels like home.
Totally. Stephen seems like he's completely back to normal. The Doctor and Sarah kind of tag team explain that he was encased in a force field of gravity force and reliance power.
Oh, gravity force and reliance power. Well, no wonder he was so out of it.
Yeah, they didn't mention the reliance power earlier, but apparently that's part of the power source of the Dalek ship, I guess.
I see.
This force field of gravity force and reliance power must have been destroyed by the Dalek's film negativizer, and he's lucky that they didn't fire a second time.
Very convenient to the plot as well. Well, we don't have to explain, you know, what's going on with that force field on him, but also we had enough of a force field on him to save him from the film negativizers.
Right. And I guess the force field was also like why he was all out of it.
Yeah.
That's like part of the side effects of the force field, I guess.
I'll do that to you.
He thinks that they should keep experimenting with gravity force power. Maybe it could like be a good thing to protect them from the Daleks. But the Doctor says that it's way too dangerous.
Oh, no, you listen to me, young man. I warned you it was dangerous before you tried it. Might have killed yourself and blown up the spaceship. Then where would we all be,
And the writers don't want to have to explain why we are or are not using this technology in every episode from here on out.
The Doctor basically pulls the my ship, my rules. If you don't like it, you can take a hike card.
Also, the Doctor always gets to pick the radio station.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, Doctor, like, music from the 1930s gets kind of old after a while.
Well, at least his granddaughter had better taste.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't mind listening to Beatles and stuff.
I am aware.
So he and Steven are arguing when Sarah notices that the TARDIS has landed.
But landed where?
Yeah, to the Doctor and Steven's credit, their argument like immediately ends and they both go like straight into adventure mode.
Okay, good.
The scanner of the TARDIS doesn't seem to be working, so they can't see what's happening outside. They're going to have to like check up on the whole scanner circuit in order to figure out what's wrong and repair it.
Yeah, chase off the nest of woodchucks or whatever that's living in it.
Yeah, find out how many wires they chucked through.
Yeah.
Steven's about to just like head outside and start investigating the scanner circuitry, but the Doctor stops him.
You see those dials? Now, do you know what that means? If either of you went outside, it would be extremely dangerous. The whole atmosphere is entirely poisonous.
Yeah, dude, like there's a reason we have a scanner. It's so that we don't have to go outside. So if you're going outside without scanning to check on the scanner, it sort of
like,
defeats the whole purpose.
Look at the gauges first, at least.
Yes, if you can't check the scanner, at least look at the gauges. Dalek Carl will be so disappointed in you.
And as the Doctor says that, the words, "next episode, the Feast of Stephen," appear on screen.
Interesting. Well, we've got a character named Stephen. Wonder if good King Wenceslas is going to be involved. IDK.
Either that or it's going to be a grim and gruesome dinner.
I guess you may have to explain that one to me.
I'm thinking
what if you're feasting on Stephen?
Yeah, some aliens feasting on Stephen, maybe.
Maybe get a little cannibalism in your 1960s British children's sci-fi show.
I mean, they may have lost the "it's a kid show" memo again. Who knows?
Dennis. Let's see what Dennis does with it.
Yeah.
That was an okay episode. I feel like not quite as much happened in that one as some previous ones, but
yeah,
we had a little force field, and that was kind of fun. Gravitational force and whatnot.
And we're back on the TARDIS now.
And we got the TARDIS back, yes, which means that Sarah, who has now actually gone on a trip in the TARDIS, is more of a companion than her brother Brett ever was.
Yeah, Brett was on the TARDIS, but he never traveled on the TARDIS, which Sarah now has.
I mean, pour one out, and not to speak ill of the dead, but your sis there has got one over on you now.
Yeah, and she didn't have to get strapped into the magic chair that doesn't actually use straps. You're just stuck to it.
That's true. Well, cool. All right. Yeah, that was a pretty good episode. Fairly entertaining, I guess. Yeah. Cool. Did you have any other notes you wanted to share?
No, I think that was basically all I had about that one.
Well, in that case, we'd like to thank Circuit23 for the awesome theme song that he made for us. You can check out his album Mens Vermis on Bandcamp and his other music on SoundCloud. And you can email him at circuit.23@gmail.com. Thank you, Kyle, for watching Doctor Who and telling me all about it.
Indeed. And thank you, Benny, for listening to me talk all about Doctor Who.
And thank you, listeners, for listening to me, listening to Kyle talk about Doctor Who. I like how now we've started doing these live, and I've just sort of been doing them the same way every time. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com or tweet us at drwatcher. And don't forget to share with friends, rate our podcast, and write us a little review, especially on Apple Podcasts. We always appreciate it, listeners.
Indeed. They say it's good for the algorithm and stuff to write reviews.
Yes. Gotta keep the algorithm happy.
Yep. Honestly, though, I think probably telling your friends is the best way for us to get new listeners. But,
we appreciate that too.
Still do rates and reviews, too.
Honestly, if you like this show enough to actually tell another human being that they'll enjoy it, like, there is no higher compliment than that. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Jokes and bits aside, like, that's totally true.
All right, well, listeners, we will see you in 2 weeks to find out what happens next.
Bye.
Bye.
Dispatch a rescue ship to their aid. They will be dealt with on their return. Meanwhile, I will personally supervise recovery of the core. I obey.
And you had the audacity to accuse me, Mavic Chen, of incompetence. A Dalek pursuit ship stolen? Really?
It is not an emergency.
No. More like a catastrophe.
They may believe that they have successfully escaped from us, but we